A life-or-death struggle. That's how Cincinnati police are describing the events that led to the fatal shooting of a Clifton man yesterday afternoon.
9 on Your Side reporter Jay Warren is live for us this evening at Arlen's Bar in Clifton, where that struggle took place. Jay?
Well, before coming here to Arlen's Bar, 32-year-old Roger Raimundo, whose neighbors called Jeremy, had a confrontation with his mother. Now, the mother called a mental health care professional who called 911, and that's how we found out some of this information. In the 911 call, this mental health care professional said that Raimundo was off his medication for a psychiatric illness, that he had been acting in a belligerent fashion, and that he was armed with a gun. And we understand that Raimundo, before coming here to Arlen's, told his mother, if you call the cops, it will be a bloodbath. Now, here at Arlen's, Raimundo himself was known to some of the officers who responded here. Several of those officers also had training in dealing with the mentally ill, and that included Officer Brian Gable, who was the one who fired the 2 shots that killed Raimundo. At a press conference today, Acting Police Chief Paul Humphreys described what officers say happened here, where Gable tried to speak to Raimundo calmly, but the reaction was for Raimundo to try to grab his gun. Now, during the ensuing struggle, officers were able to get Raimundo onto the deck on his chest, but Raimundo had managed to get his gun out and was even able to fire a shot.
When the first shot was fired, none of the officers were able to control his arm or the gun. So when Mr. Raimundo was able to bring the gun up, you got to remember, it's easy for us to talk about it now, but this is happening like this. We're hot, we're sweaty, we're fighting. There's no way to control anything, and the gun comes up, and Mr. Raimundo fires a shot. After that, officers are attempting to grab his hand, his arm, his wrist to control that, while Officer Gable is getting out of the line of fire and making that decision of, what do I need to do to end this threat? What do I need to do to save lives here?
Now, at today's press conference, Acting Chief Paul Humphreys says that yesterday was truly a tragedy, and he offers his condolences to the family of Raimundo. He said that Officer Gable relied on his training doing what he had to do. Now, I went to Arlen's Bar yesterday, or rather today, to see if they had any comment. They declined to comment. They say they know the family and they did not want to upset them. The city is performing 3 investigations. There's the criminal investigation, there's an internal investigation, and then the Citizens Complaint Authority is also reviewing this case. Now, coming up at 6 o'clock, you'll hear more about the struggle, which also included one of the officers being tased by another officer. Jay Warren, 9 on Your Side, Clifton.
All right, Jay, thanks for that report. As Jay mentioned, police knew Roger Raimundo from previous dealings. With more on how Cincinnati officers respond to mental illness, here's 9 on Your Side anchor Carol Williams. Carol?
Clyde, police knew through mental health professionals who spoke with Raimundo's mother that he was diagnosed with bipolar disorder and generalized anxiety. The police academy tells us that approximately 320 officers have completed mental health team response training. Acting Chief Paul Humphreys says the officers who responded to yesterday's incident had special training in dealing with people suffering from a mental illness. 3 of the 5 officers directly involved had undergone a week-long training on how to deal with mental health patients. There was also a mental health specialist on the scene. Humphrey says it's an issue his officers deal with every day. We did some checking and found officers responded to mental health cases more than 3,500 times in 2011 and 2012. So far in 2013, that number has been slightly higher at 3,614. 9 on Your Side will continue to look into this case and at how police respond to mental health calls. We'll have updates both on air and on WCPO.com.